The Channel Army upgrade continues to acquaint you with the most promising models of different countries around the world. Today we are looking at a new tank. This ground combat system of the future, Main Ground Combat System, MGCS, it is made jointly by the French and Germans, will replace the Leopard 2A7 of the Bundeswehr and AMX-56 Leclerc of the French Armed Forces. Germany and France at the beginning of the 21st century have drastically reduced the number of combat tanks, up to 306 and 200 respectively. French concern Nexter and German company Krauss-Maffei-Wegmann initially hoped to survive by selling Leclerc and Leopard 2 tanks abroad. But it did not work out. Tanks of the new production were bought reluctantly. As is known, the first experience of the Turkish army in combat use of Leopard 2A4 tanks was unsuccessful. In total, it destroyed 10 tanks in a day, at that using old Soviet Fago anti-tank guided missiles and RPG-7 grenade launchers. It is interesting that UAE troops, which fought in Yemen, did not take care to put their Leclerc tanks on the battlefield, so the real capabilities of the machine are still unknown. To cut costs, a joint German-French venture was formed that introduced a concept of a single European tank, a hybrid of the Leclerc turret on a Leopard 2 chassis. It aroused skepticism among specialists. Since this situation threatened the bankruptcy of German and French tank manufacturers, the governments decided to launch a joint development program for a new generation main battle tank in 2019. Interestingly, France and the FRG had previously tried to organize joint tank development and production, but the undertaking failed, as well as on the creation of a joint tank, the US and the FRG. Potential volume of joint purchases of new generation tanks by Germany and France is unlikely to exceed 500 tanks. Moreover, this prospect is post-2035. So far, little is known about the new Euro tank. It must have a number of protection features, able to withstand all major threats. Combined hull and turret armor will be complemented by dynamic protection. Armor and overhead elements will have to provide protection against both shells of different types and mines or explosive devices. Optical instruments will be protected against laser radiation, preventing blinding of the tank and its crew. The new ground combat system will have a set of sensors and detection tools that help increase survivability on the battlefield, such as optical, infrared, acoustic, and other sensors. A new laser-based optronic suppression system is being proposed. It will be able to fight the enemy's optics, first and foremost the sighting devices of anti-tank armored vehicles. At the moment, funding has been obtained to develop unified tactical and technical requirements for the future MBT, which will form the basis for the statement of work. Accordingly, neither the layout of the tank nor the configuration of its principal systems that ensure firepower and protection have been determined. The U.S. Army announced a successful demonstration and test launch of the Tomahawk cruise missile from a mobile land-based launcher of the new mid-range capability, MRC, official name Typhon, ground missile system manufactured by Lockheed Martin Corporation. The U.S. Army says the system has demonstrated that the prototype battery has achieved full operational capability. The Army Upgrade Channel reminds us that the first MRC Typhon pre-production battery was delivered to the U.S. Army late last year. The battery was the U.S. Army's first medium-range missile system in more than 30 years and since the end of the U.S.-Soviet Intermediate-Range Nuclear Forces Elimination Treaty. Earlier in the year, the same MRC Typhon test battery successfully launched the SM-6 Standard missile. The Typhon ground-based mobile missile system is to use two types of ship-based missiles currently in service with the U.S. Navy, the Raytheon Tomahawk subsonic cruise missile and the Raytheon Standard SM-6 multi-target, anti-aircraft, supersonic quasi-ballistic missile, which in this system is to be used for engagement of ground and surface targets. Both types of missiles are to be fired from the ground version of the ship's Mk-41 Universal Vertical Launcher, which is a 4-container version on a ground mobile launcher on a trailer towed by a tractor. The missiles are to be in standard U.S. Navy design and are not subject to any special modifications. The range of ground-launched Tomahawk cruise missile with a non-nuclear warhead is estimated up to 1,800 kilometers, and standard SM-6 missile by quasi-ballistic trajectory, up to 460 kilometers. Other surface-to-surface missiles, including hypersonic ones, are also possible in the MRC Typhon system in the future and could be designed to be placed in Mk-41 shipborne boosters. U.S. Army MRC Typhon complex should become an intermediate range link between the advanced Lockheed Martin PRSM, precision strike missile, operational tactical missile system with a range of 550 kilometers, up to 1,000 kilometers in the future, and the advanced LRHW, long-range hypersonic weapon, aka Dark Eagle, with a claimed range of over 2,775 kilometers. The MRC Typhon complex was developed under the direction of the RCCTO. Lockheed Martin Corporation was awarded a $339.319 million contract in November 2020 to build and test a prototype battery of MRC ground missile systems using Tomahawk and SM-6 missiles. The contract runs through December 31, 2023. Today we look at the promising XQ-58A Valkyrie unmanned aerial vehicle. In the future, this vehicle should become a universal platform for building combat drones for various purposes. Valkyrie-based drones are proposed to be used as a supplement to existing and prospective aircraft, ensuring an increase in their effectiveness. The XQ-58A was created as a low-cost UAV, made its first flight in 2019, failing on its third flight later that year. Recently, the U.S. Air Force's XQ-58A Valkyrie drone launched for the first time from the interior compartments of smaller Switchblade-600 drones. The carrier and swarm are presumably controlled by an advanced artificial intelligence system created as part of the Skyborg program. Data on the characteristics of the flight are not known. The photo shows the Switchblade 600 drone being ejected backwards out of the compartment through a downward-sloping launcher, which is increasingly being used by the U.S. military. It is also supposedly capable of launching the AGM-176 Griffin missile, a GBU-44B Viper Strike, or a GBU-69 Small Scud bomb. It is not clear how many Switchblade 600 XQ-58A Valkyrie drones the Valkyrie can carry inside its inner compartment. It was previously reported that the Valkyrie can carry at least two 250-pound bombs. The Switchblade 600 weighs about 30 pounds, turns out more than 10 pieces. Itself can carry different types of payload from 3 to 7 pounds. The Valkyrie was designed from the beginning to be an inexpensive drone that could be used without fear of losing it. Allowing it to launch even less expensive drones would increase the effectiveness of the XQ-58A and its own survivability. All about the U.S. Navy Blue Angels aerobatic team can be seen at the end of the video at the link. See you on Army Upgrade channel.